There's a moment just before the candle forgets its flame, when the room seems to hold its breath. No sound, no shape, just stillness. That's where we're going. Not into the noise of dreams, but into the quiet that holds them, into the space beneath thought, beneath trying, beneath even wanting. Tonight's stories aren't meant to be followed. They are not journeys from beginning to end. They are reflections in water, rippling, disappearing, becoming part of the stillness again. Zen stories don't explain. They don't persuade. They don't even finish, not really. They pause, they float, they dissolve, and in their dissolving, something in us softens too. So you don't need to understand them. You don't even need to stay awake. Just let the words wash over you like rain falling on a distant roof. Soft, rhythmic, just far enough away to soothe without asking anything in return. Let your body rest. Let your breath deepen. Let the mind untangle itself without being told to. These stories come from mountain paths, from mist-covered temples where time hangs like incense smoke, from old wooden doors left open at twilight, and monks who sweep leaves not to clean, but to listen. They are gentle companions, not guides. They walk beside you in silence, matching your pace, sometimes ahead, sometimes behind, sometimes gone altogether, leaving only the hush they stirred in the air. So come as you are, with busy thoughts, with tired limbs, with whatever this day has asked of you. Here, it can all be set down. You've carried enough. Let this next hour be a kind of falling, not into sleep, but into spaciousness, the kind that holds both sound and silence, both meaning and mystery. Close your eyes if they haven't closed already. Feel the night begin to unfold its wings around you. Let the stories come. Let them fade. Let something quieter arrive in their place. You don't need to go anywhere. You're already home. Let us begin.
Along the gentle curve of a slow, winding river where water lilies drifted lazily upon the surface and dragonflies traced delicate patterns in the air, there stood a humble tea house. Its wooden beams, darkened and softened by countless seasons of sun, rain and quiet storms, bore the gentle marks of time. The paper lanterns hung like silent sentinels beneath the eaves, glowed softly at dusk, casting pools of amber light that danced gently against the fading sky. The tea house was tucked among willows and maples whose branches brushed the river's edge, their leaves whispering in the soft evening breeze. The air here was thick with the delicate fragrance of jasmine and the faint, calming trace of sandalwood incense that curled upward in slow, curling tendrils. Inside, the tatami mats were cool beneath bare feet, worn smooth by the footsteps of many who had come seeking quiet and solace. Sliding shoji doors framed views of the river's serene flow and moss-covered stones that stood like silent guardians along the banks. This place was tended by Hana, a quiet woman who moved with a calm and deliberate grace, as if each gesture was part of an ancient ritual. She prepared tea not just to serve a drink, but to offer a sanctuary, a moment of stillness in a world that often rushed by with clattering noise and fleeting moments. Her hands, slender and steady, worked with gentle precision, warming the teapot, selecting the finest leaves, pouring water heated to the perfect temperature, and watching as the fragrant steam rose in soft, ephemeral clouds. One evening, as the sun dipped low behind distant misted mountains and painted the sky with colours of rose and gold, a traveller arrived at the tea house. His journey had been long, filled with winding paths and restless nights when sleep seemed just out of reach. His eyes held the weariness of one who carries too many thoughts, like stones weighing heavy in a pocket. Drawn by the soft glow and quiet promise, he stepped inside the tea house and the world outside seemed to fall away like a forgotten dream. Hana greeted him with a gentle bow, her smile warm yet reserved. She invited him to sit by the window where the river's slow current shimmered beneath the fading light. Here the outside world was softened to a gentle murmur, a perfect place to rest. As Hana prepared the tea, her movements slowed to a ritual rhythm. Water was poured carefully over the fragrant leaves, steam curling upward like a delicate veil rising from the earth. The soft clink of the teapot lid, the gentle swish of water-stirring leaves, and the distant song of crickets blended into a lullaby that floated between moments, inviting the traveller to breathe deeper, to listen closer, to simply be. When the tea was ready, Hana offered the cup with both hands, eyes meeting his with a quiet invitation. This was not just tea, but a vessel of calm, a bridge to stillness. The traveller took the cup slowly, feeling the warmth seep into his palms, the rich aroma rising like a gentle tide to meet him. The first sip was soft and soothing, a balance of bitter and sweet, warm and comforting all at once. The warmth settled inside him, and a softness began to unfold, a gentle opening in the tight weave of tension and thought. He turned his gaze toward the river, watching as it curved slowly and steadily, flowing without hurry or struggle, embracing every stone and bend with grace. Hana's voice, soft as the evening breeze, broke the silence. "The river does not rush to reach the sea," she said. "It flows in its own time, carrying all things gently along. Like the river, your journey unfolds, not hurried, not forced, but patient and enough." The traveller closed his eyes, letting the warmth of the tea and the quiet rhythm of the river wash over him. He imagined himself as part of that gentle flow, carried by the current of time, softening against the stones of life's challenges. In the stillness, a question drifted like a leaf slowly floating downstream. What if peace is not found by chasing, but by allowing yourself to flow? The night deepened around the tea house, stars appearing one by one like distant lanterns suspended in the vast sky above. The paper lanterns flickered gently, their light a small, steady beacon in the calm darkness. The air was cool and fresh, carrying the scent of damp earth and blooming night flowers. The traveller sat a while longer, wrapped in quietude, feeling the gentle pulse of the river's timeless rhythm echo within him. When it was time to leave, Hana's words lingered softly like a whispered blessing. "May your journey be like the river, steady, patient, and guided by the light within. As he stepped back onto the path by the riverbank, the traveller carried with him not just the memory of tea and warmth, but a quiet question to rest upon his heart. How might your own journey flow if you trust its slow and steady course? The mountain path. High in the quiet folds of the ancient mountains, where the air is crisp and thin and clouds drift like drifting dreams, there is a narrow path carved gently into the hillside. This path, woven from earth and stone, is worn smooth by the footsteps of countless wanderers, seeking not only a journey outward, but a journey inward, a quiet pilgrimage through stillness and reflection. One soft morning, as the delicate light of dawn spilled over the jagged peaks like liquid gold, a solitary traveller set out along this mountain path. Cloaked in muted earth tones, he moved slowly, each step measured and mindful, as though listening to the silent song of the stones beneath his feet. Around him, the world was hushed. Towering pines stood sentinel, their needles whispering ancient secrets to the gentle breeze. The scent of damp moss, wild herbs and cold mountain air hung thick and fresh, mingling with the distant murmur of a hidden stream weaving through the valley below. The mountain itself seemed to breathe in time with the traveller, its silence a living presence, both vast and intimate, holding space for stillness and movement alike. As he walked, the traveller noticed how the path curved and bent softly, sometimes revealing sudden vistas, a silver ribbon of river far below, clouds drifting lazily through the valleys, and shy alpine flowers blooming in delicate clusters beside the stones. Each scene was a quiet reminder of the vastness of the world, the mystery of the sky, and the smallness of his own restless worries. He paused beneath an ancient cedar tree, its roots twisted and gnarled like the fingers of time itself, clutching the earth with steady strength. Placing his hand against the rough bark, he felt the steady heartbeat of the tree beneath his palm, solid, enduring, and deeply rooted. This tree had stood here through countless seasons, storms and sunrises, snowfalls and springs, rooted yet flexible, firm yet yielding. In this moment, the traveller felt the mountain's quiet wisdom seep into him, that true strength is found not in resistance, but in gentle acceptance of life's inevitable currents. He resumed his journey, his steps now a quiet prayer, a meditation in motion. The path rose steeply at times, inviting effort and endurance, then flattened gently, allowing ease and rest. The traveller learned to move with the rhythm of the mountain, to embrace the challenge without hurry, to rest without guilt or haste. The air was filled with soft sounds, the distant call of a lone hawk, the rustle of wind through needles and leaves, the faint drip of melting snow from high crags. Each sound blended into a harmonious symphony of quiet presence. The traveller's breath deepened, slow and steady, in tune with the world around him. He noticed the texture of the path beneath his feet. The rough, crumbly earth mixed with smooth river stones warmed faintly by the rising sun. Sometimes his toes sank slightly into soft patches of moss, lush and cool as velvet. The scent of earth and pine filled his lungs with every inhale, grounding him more deeply in the moment. Along the way he found a cluster of delicate wildflowers, tiny, pale blossoms nodding gently in the breeze. Their fragile beauty seemed to speak softly of impermanence and grace, reminding him that even the smallest things hold profound meaning. Eventually he reached a small clearing bathed in golden sunlight. The warmth was gentle, spreading softly across his skin like a whispered caress. Here stood a smooth stone seat worn by the passage of countless travellers before him. He settled down quietly, folding his hands loosely in his lap and closing his eyes. The silence wrapped around him like a soft cloak, a sacred space where time seemed to slow and stretch. He breathed deeply, the pure mountain air filling his lungs like a balm for weary thoughts. As he sat, he felt the slow unfolding of peace within, a spaciousness growing like the first gentle light of dawn inside his chest. A question arose in the quiet, a soft, still inquiry as delicate as the rustle of pine needles. What if the path itself is the destination, and every single step you take is already enough? The traveller remained there, letting the mountain's quiet embrace hold him. Clouds drifted lazily overhead, their shapes shifting like slow-moving dreams. The sun warmed his face, the cool breeze whispered through the trees, and the world felt vast and tender, inviting him to rest fully into the present. Time seemed to lose meaning as he sat in that sacred stillness, feeling his heart slow, his mind soften, and a gentle clarity settle deep within. When at last he rose to continue, the mountain whispered a last blessing on the wind. May you walk your path with patience and presence, knowing that each step you take carries you gently home. As the traveller disappeared into the soft curves of the hillside, the question lingered softly in the air, an invitation meant for you. Now resting here in this quiet moment, how might you walk your own path, embracing each step as a quiet gift? The Lantern Festival. In a small village nestled gently between rolling hills and the quiet bend of a slow-moving river, the night air was alive with soft anticipation. The eve of the Lantern Festival had come, a sacred night when the ordinary world seemed to shimmer, and the sky itself appeared to open like a deep indigo blossom sprinkled with thousands of distant stars. The air was cool and fragrant, carrying the delicate perfume of blooming cherry blossoms mingled with the sweet, smoky tendrils of sandalwood incense burning quietly in the little shrines scattered along the village paths. Narrow streets lined with wooden houses whose shutters had been carefully opened glowed warmly with hundreds of paper lanterns. These lanterns, painted in gentle reds, soft golds and whispers of pale ivory, flickered tenderly in the evening breeze, casting dancing pools of amber light that played upon worn cobblestones and weathered door frames. The village was alive yet hushed in reverence, as if all had been drawn together by some invisible thread, woven through centuries of shared stories and quiet celebrations. The faint murmur of whispered conversations, the gentle rustle of silk robes, and the distant chime of temple bells floated softly on the night air. Among the villagers was May, the elder storyteller whose voice was like a soothing stream flowing through the stillness. Children, wide-eyed and wrapped in soft shawls, gathered closely around the crackling communal fire. The flames flickered and spat sparks that rose like tiny, fleeting stars into the dark above. May's voice began to weave a tale, slow and deliberate, each word a smooth stone cast gently onto the surface of a calm pond. Her story spoke of a special lantern unlike any other, a lantern said to hold a light born not of flame or oil, but from the very heart of the night itself. This light was soft and steady, a quiet glow that could calm the most restless mind and soothe the deepest weariness. It was said to reside deep within the ancient forest beyond the village, hidden among the towering bamboo and moss-covered stones, where only those who had already found a calm peace within could glimpse it. The children listened closely, their faces lit by the flickering firelight and the warm glow of lanterns all around. May described how many seekers had ventured into the forest, drawn by the legend, only to find that the lantern's light did not shine outward for all to see. Instead, it revealed itself gently to those who carried the quiet flame inside, their own stillness, their own patience, and their own silent knowing. As the story unfolded, the villagers rose one by one, each holding a lantern carefully crafted by their own hands. With gentle reverence, they lit the wicks and released their lanterns into the evening sky. One by one, the lanterns lifted upward, like glowing blossoms drifting slowly on a dark sea. They rose higher and higher until their soft lights joined the stars above, weaving a tapestry of gentle radiance, stretching to infinity. The children's eyes followed the lanterns wide with wonder, their breaths shallow and soft. A warm calm settled over the gathering, a silent invitation to rest, to release, to be present. May's voice, now softer and almost a whisper, invited all to imagine the gentle light of their own inner lantern, the quiet presence within that could guide them through darkness without struggle or strain. She spoke of how this light was always there, waiting patiently, glowing steadily, even when the world outside felt uncertain or harsh. The night deepened, and the lanterns floated higher still, becoming tiny specks of hope against the vast velvet sky. The village held its breath in reverent stillness, wrapped in the embrace of the festival's peaceful mystery. Finally, as the last lantern disappeared into the infinite expanse, May's final words floated softly into the hearts of all who listened, like a gentle breeze over a still lake. What if the light you seek has already been glowing quietly within you all along? And so, beneath the endless sky and among the drifting lanterns, the village breathed in the calm, the mystery, and the deep, soothing peace of the night. Each soul, touched by the festival's gentle magic, carried that quiet light into their dreams, where it would burn softly through the night, steady, serene, and whole. The Whispering Bamboo Grove. Far beyond the bustling towns and winding rivers, nestled quietly in the gentle embrace of rolling hills and ancient forests, there lies a grove of bamboo, a sanctuary untouched by time, a place where the world slows its breath and invites the heart to listen deeply. This grove, hidden from maps and guides, is said to hold a soft magic, woven from the whispers of the wind and the shimmering dance of sunlight filtering through slender green stalks. It is a realm where silence is alive, and every leaf, every breeze, every shadow carries a secret waiting to be heard. One late afternoon, when the sun was a low, warm orb slipping behind distant mountain peaks, a young seeker named Hana arrived at the edge of this sacred grove. Her heart was heavy with the noise of the world, restless thoughts, endless expectations, and a quiet yearning for stillness that had long eluded her. She stepped slowly beneath the towering bamboo stalks, each movement deliberate, as if honoring the sacredness of the space she entered. The air shifted immediately, cooler now, perfumed with the crisp scent of fresh green leaves and the earthy richness of soil softened by recent rain. Hana's footsteps were gentle upon the soft carpet of fallen leaves and delicate shoots, the sound almost swallowed by the hush that surrounded her. Above, the bamboos swayed gracefully, their smooth stems brushing softly against one another, creating a delicate symphony. A rhythmic whisper that seemed to speak in a language older than words. With every breath, Hana felt herself drawn deeper into the grove's embrace. The sunlight poured down in scattered pools of jade green light, dappling her skin with shifting patterns that played like liquid silk. The shadows moved slowly, flowing with the sway of the bamboo, casting gentle shapes that seemed to breathe and pulse with the quiet life of the forest. As she wandered, Hana noticed the bamboo's gentle inclination, how the stalks leaned subtly toward each other and toward her as if sharing an ancient secret carried on the wind. The rustling sound was not mere noise. It was a voice, not heard by the ears but felt deeply within, the voice of the grove itself, calling her to listen beyond words, to receive the wisdom held in silence. At the heart of the grove, a small clearing opened, a sacred space bathed in warm sunlight that fell like liquid gold. In the center stood a single bamboo shoot, young and vibrant, reaching straight and proud toward the sky. Hana knelt beside it, running her fingers along its smooth, cool stem, feeling the steady pulse of life within. It was a quiet strength, humble yet unyielding, alive with the energy of growth and possibility. In this stillness, a profound understanding blossomed within her. The bamboo's lesson was clear. True strength is not rigid or unbending, but flexible and fluid. Like bamboo, we survive storms not by resisting, but by bending, yielding softly to the winds that threaten to break us, and rising again with grace and resilience. This strength, born of surrender, was quiet but powerful, rooted deeply in the earth and reaching gently toward the sky. Hana settled into the warm earth, folding her hands loosely in her lap, and closed her eyes. She let the grove's calm fill her completely. The whispering leaves, the soft hum of the wind, the distant call of a solitary bird settling into the evening. The bamboo's ancient lullaby wove through the air, a gentle breath of peace that slowed her heartbeat and softened her mind. Time stretched, slow and infinite, as Hana breathed in rhythm with the grove. She felt her thoughts untangle, loosen and dissolve like mist at dawn. Her worries, once tangled knots, now drifted away on the wind, leaving behind a spacious quiet, a vast and gentle stillness that welcomed her fully. As twilight deepened, the grove grew more hushed, the last rays of sun slipping away behind the hills. Hana rose slowly, carrying with her the quiet wisdom of the bamboo, the strength found in gentle surrender, the resilience born from silent flexibility. Walking back through the grove, the shadows lengthened and the bamboo whispered its final blessing upon her journey. A soft question, like the rustle of leaves in the breeze, settled into her heart. How might you learn to bend with life's winds, finding strength not in resistance, but in the tender grace of surrender? And as she disappeared beyond the grove's edge, the bamboo continued its ancient song, a slow, steady breath weaving through the world, inviting all who listen to discover the quiet power that lives within. The mountain hermit's silence. High above the rolling valleys and whispering forests, where the air thins and breath comes soft and slow, there lies a solitary hermitage carved gently into the granite face of an ancient mountain. The hermit who dwells there has lived a life wrapped in silence, a silence so profound that he is said to have spoken only once in 50 years. His quiet presence is a language beyond words, a deep and steady current of calm that flows beneath the surface of everything. The path leading to the hermitage winds like a silver thread through groves of ancient pine trees, whose needles glisten softly in the filtered light, murmuring secrets to the breeze. It climbs steeply over weathered stones, worn smooth by centuries of wind and rain. each step a slow meditation as the traveller ascends further away from the noisy world below. On one still morning, just as dawn was melting into pale gold and pink across the sky, a traveller named Kai began his journey up this path. His heart was a tangle of restless thoughts and unanswered questions, a mind weary from chasing meaning in the loud clamour of life. With deliberate steps he moved slowly forward, breathing deeply the crisp, fragrant air, each inhale filled with the scent of pine and fresh earth, each exhale releasing a little more of the tension he carried. As Kai climbed higher, the familiar world grew distant and small beneath him. The chatter of towns, the rush of rivers, the distant calls of birds faded into a muted silence that felt like a soft cloak wrapped around his shoulders. The mountain itself seemed to pause, holding its breath in reverence for what lay ahead. Finally, Kai reached a narrow ledge where the hermitage sat quietly, a simple wooden cabin nestled against the granite cliff, its weathered beams touched by lichen and moss. Outside, on a smooth stone bench carved from the mountain itself, the hermit sat with eyes closed, his face serene and still as a deep, undisturbed lake. Kai approached without a word, settling down gently on a nearby rock, feeling the cool stone beneath him and the steady rhythm of the earth. Between them stretched a silence, not empty but full, thick with presence and calm. It was the kind of silence that speaks without speaking, that holds space without needing to fill it. Time unfolded slowly there, a seamless flow without beginning or end. The pine needles whispered softly overhead, a gentle rustle like the breath of the mountain itself. The sun shifted across the sky, casting long shadows that danced quietly on the rocks. Kai felt his own breath slow, deepening into a peaceful rhythm that matched the steady pulse of the earth beneath him. As the hours drifted by, Kai's restless thoughts began to untangle, loosen and dissolve like morning mist warmed by sunlight. The questions he had carried so tightly faded into a gentle curiosity, an openness to whatever might come in the stillness. In the late afternoon, as the sky softened into hues of lavender and rose, the hermit's eyes slowly opened. He looked at Kai with a gaze both tender and profound, a quiet invitation woven into the very silence between them. Then, with a voice soft and deliberate, the hermit spoke a single word that seemed to echo through the still air. Listen. Kai nodded, understanding in that moment that the deepest wisdom is not found in words spoken aloud, but in the silence that surrounds them, the space where the soul can rest, where the heart can hear its own quiet truth. He rose slowly, the weight of the mountain's calm settling into his bones like a gentle song. As he began his descent, the hermit's silent teaching followed him. A whisper carried on the wind, a reminder that sometimes the greatest voice is found in stillness, and peace is waiting in the quiet places we often overlook. The path stretched before him, shaded by towering pines that swayed softly with the breeze, their needles sparkling like emerald stars in the fading light. The air was cool and sweet, filled with the faint scent of cedar and moss, and the distant call of a solitary bird echoed gently through the valley. With each step down the mountain, Kai felt the hermit's presence within, a calm shadow, a silent friend. The questions that once crowded his mind now rested peacefully, held in the gentle embrace of stillness. And so, beneath the vast, endless sky and among the ancient trees, Kai carried the hermit's gift quietly in his heart. A soft, lingering question stirred there, like a leaf floating on a slow stream. What might you hear if you simply listen? to the silence within and to the world breathing softly around you. The quiet tea house. Nestled deep within a misty valley, where soft clouds drift lazily among rolling hills carpeted with emerald moss and wildflowers, there stands a tea house unlike any other. It is small and unassuming, its wooden beams weathered and worn smooth by the gentle hands of time, its paper windows glowing faintly with the warm light of countless quiet evenings spent in thoughtful stillness. Here the world slows its hurried breath, and every moment becomes a gentle invitation to pause, to breathe deeply and to taste the subtle sweetness of true stillness. The tea house rests quietly beside a slow, winding river whose waters move like liquid glass over smooth stones, mirroring the delicate dance of cherry blossoms drifting lazily on its surface. Each dawn the mist rises like a silken curtain, wrapping the valley in a soft hush that seems to hold the whispered secrets of the earth itself. The faint, earthy scent of damp soil mingles with the sweet fragrance of blooming jasmine and the fresh green of spring leaves, filling the air with a quiet invitation to surrender to the present. One spring morning, as the world stirred gently awake beneath a pale sky brushed with strokes of rose and gold, a traveller named May found herself walking softly along the moss-covered path that led to this sanctuary. Her footsteps were light, careful not to disturb the tender stillness that embraced the land. She was drawn here not by fame or fortune, but by a quiet yearning, a desire to find a place untouched by haste, where the simple act of drinking tea might become a meditation, a sacred art of being fully present in the moment. As May crossed the threshold and stepped inside, a warm, inviting scent of roasted tea leaves and freshly steamed water wrapped around her like a comforting shawl. The room was simple and serene. Tatami mats woven finely beneath her feet, a low wooden table polished to a soft sheen by the hands of generations, and shelves lined with delicate porcelain cups and teapots shaped by artisans who understood the delicate harmony of form, function, and beauty. She settled herself quietly onto the mat, the soft rustle of her kimono blending harmoniously with the gentle crackle of the hearth's fire. Across from her, the tea master, a graceful elderly woman whose eyes reflected the calm stillness of a mountain lake, moved with a slow, deliberate grace. Each movement was a quiet poem of mindfulness. The gentle clink of the kettle as it was lifted, the precise pouring of steaming water over fragrant leaves, the curl of rising steam like a silent prayer dissolving into the still air. May watched, captivated as the ritual unfolded. She felt her breath lengthen and deepen, her mind softening like the petals of a flower opening to the morning sun. When the tea master finally placed the small cup before her, warm and fragrant in her hands, May lifted it slowly to her lips. The flavour was subtle and profound, a delicate bitterness softened by a whisper of sweetness, unfolding slowly, like a secret whispered only to those who truly listen. As May sipped, the world outside the tea house faded into a distant hum, a soft backdrop to the deepening silence within. The worries and restless thoughts that had clung to her like shadows began to dissolve, slipping away like petals carried gently downstream. Time stretched and softened, each moment flowing seamlessly into the next, a continuous thread of calm, clarity, and gentle presence. The tea master's voice broke the silence at last, soft and tender like a breeze through bamboo leaves. In tea there is stillness. In stillness there is truth. And in truth the heart finds its way home. May closed her eyes and breathed deeply, letting the warmth of the tea seep deep into her being, mingling with the slow rhythm of her breath. She felt the pulse of the earth beneath the tea house, the steady heartbeat of soil, water and stone, and the slow, timeless flow of the river nearby. She felt the soft weight of time's passing, neither hurried nor stagnant, but a gentle unfolding, like a flower blooming in the sun. As the afternoon light softened and the sky blushed with the first hues of twilight, May remained seated in quiet contemplation, carrying the tea's tender wisdom as a flame nestled softly in her heart. Outside, the river's gentle murmur mingled with the distant song of crickets and the rustling of leaves in the evening breeze, weaving a lullaby of peace that reached deep into the soul. She wondered softly, what moments of stillness can you find in your own day? Where can your heart come home to peace? The tea house waited quietly for her answer, a gentle presence beyond words, a sanctuary held safe within the flow of time and breath. The quiet garden. In a small, ancient village nestled between gentle, rolling hills that seemed to cradle the sky itself, there was a garden unlike any other, a secret held softly between the roots of old cedar trees and the quiet whisper of jasmine flowers. The garden's gate was carved from weathered cedar, its wood smooth and worn by decades of wind, rain, and the touch of countless hands. It stood slightly ajar, inviting the curious and the weary alike into a world that seemed to exist just beyond the ordinary flow of time. An old gardener named Aiko lived beside this garden, her house a simple wooden cottage framed by creeping ivy and moss that glistened with morning dew. Each day before dawn had fully stretched her rosy fingers across the sky. Aiko rose and stepped into the garden. Her movements were slow, deliberate, as though she was walking a sacred path rather than merely tending plants. Her hands, gentle and knowing, brushed lightly over fern fronds unfurling like ancient scrolls, moss soft as velvet, and petals that nodded as if they held secrets spoken only in the language of the wind. The garden was a mosaic of greens, soft blues and pale pinks, a living poem of earth and air. It was a place where the noisy bustle of the world outside fell away, replaced by the gentle music of dripping dew, rustling leaves, and the distant soft call of birds awakening to the day. Aiko believed the garden was more than just a collection of plants. It was a sanctuary, a quiet sanctuary where the restless heart could find rest and the noisy mind could find silence. It was a place to slow down, to listen not only to nature's songs but to the silence between those songs, the quiet spaces where true understanding blooms. One misty morning, just as the first rays of sunlight began to filter through the leaves like golden threads, a young man came to the garden's gate. His shoulders were heavy with the burdens of many restless thoughts and sleepless nights. The tension in his face softened the moment he stepped through the gate, as if the garden itself exhaled a welcome that seeped deep into his bones. Aiko met him with a gentle smile, her eyes bright with quiet kindness. She motioned for him to walk slowly with her among the plants, to feel the earth beneath their feet and the coolness of the morning air against their skin. "Why does this garden feel so still?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper, touched with wonder. Aiko led him down a narrow stone path to the heart of the garden, where a small pond lay nestled like a secret. Its surface was smooth and glassy, reflecting the sky and the branches of the whispering trees overhead. Tiny ripples flickered across the water, stirred by a soft breeze that carried the scent of jasmine and damp earth. "The garden listens," she said softly, kneeling beside the pond, not with ears, but with presence. It does not hurry or rush. It simply is. The young man crouched beside her, gazing into the clear water. He saw his own reflection shimmer and change with every ripple, a delicate dance between stillness and movement. "Is that why I feel calmer here?" he asked, the tension in his voice easing as he spoke. "Yes," Aiko replied gently, "because here you are invited to be still, to breathe deeply, to watch without judgment, and to rest." They sat together by the pond, the world quiet except for the soft rustling of leaves and the faint drip of dew falling from the branches. The air was cool and fragrant, and the calm seemed to settle around them like a soft blanket. "The garden teaches us patience," Aiko said, her voice barely above the breeze. "It teaches us about holding space for growth, even when that growth is slow or unseen." The young man thought of his own mind, often racing ahead like a restless river, filled with worries and desires. Here, in the garden's quiet embrace, he felt a different rhythm, one of gentle unfolding and quiet waiting. "Can I learn to be like this garden?" he asked, looking up at her with hopeful eyes. Aiko smiled, the lines of her face softening in the morning light. "Every day is a chance to plant stillness," she said, "even in the smallest moments, like a seed resting quietly beneath the soil, waiting for the right time to grow." She reached out to touch a tender shoot just emerging from the earth, its tiny leaves unfolding slowly, hesitantly. "Growth is not always visible," she continued. "Sometimes it is happening deep below the surface, in places we cannot see. And sometimes it is simply the act of waiting, patient, unhurried, open to whatever may come." The young man breathed in the cool, fresh air again, feeling the softness of the moss beneath his hands and the subtle warmth of the sun beginning to rise. A quiet hope stirred in his chest, a seedling of peace growing stronger with each gentle moment. When the sun climbed higher and spilled golden light across the garden, warming the petals and leaves, the young man rose to leave. As he walked back through the gate, the garden seemed to breathe with him, its quiet blessing carried softly on the breeze. And as he disappeared down the path toward the village, a question lingered in the air like a whispered invitation. What might grow in the quiet spaces you hold? The lantern on the mountain path. Far beyond the familiar hum of the village, where the air thins and the world widens into quiet vastness, there lies a mountain path that twists and turns beneath towering ancient pines and moss-covered stones. Here the night moves slowly, draped in velvety darkness, where only the faintest glow dares to ripple through the shadows. On this path walks an old traveller named Koji. He carries a lantern, not bright, not brash, but small, steady, a gentle glow that breathes warmth into the cool night air. Its light is soft, trembling like a quiet heartbeat, casting long, wavering shadows that dance and mingle with the ancient trees. Koji's footsteps are deliberate, slow as the steady drip of water off a leaf. Each step seems to carry not just his body, but the weight and lightness of many years, of many journeys both outside and within. The scent of pine is thick and soothing, mixed with the damp earth and the faint, sweet hint of wildflowers sleeping beneath the dark. Somewhere nearby a brook hums its age-old lullaby, tumbling over smooth stones polished by time. The night air tastes cool on Koji's tongue, sharp with the clarity of stars shining above like silent candles scattered across the black silk of the sky. At a gentle bend in the path where the trees open slightly to reveal a small clearing bathed in silver moonlight, Koji pauses. He lowers the lantern, resting it softly on a mossy stone, careful not to disturb the delicate peace around him. Sitting beside it, he closes his eyes and draws the night into his breath, the coolness of air flowing in, the warmth flowing out. In the quiet of this moment, memories rise slowly like mist. He remembers the words of his teacher, spoken long ago beneath a sky just like this one. The lantern's light does not banish the darkness. It only reveals the path for those who choose to walk it. The simplicity of these words is a kind of gentle mystery. The darkness is not an enemy to be defeated, but a companion to be understood. The light is not a weapon, but a guide, soft, humble, persistent. Opening his eyes, Koji gazes down the shadowed trail. The path curves away, disappearing between the thick trunks of ancient pines. The lantern's flame flickers quietly, trembling with the breeze that barely stirs the air. He wonders, is the path truly illuminated by this lantern? Or has the light always been inside the traveller's heart, waiting to be seen? With a slow breath, Koji stands and resumes his walk. The lantern swings gently at his side, its glow steady but modest. The forest breathes with him, the crunch of dry needles underfoot, the soft rustling of unseen creatures in the brush, the distant call of an owl, all become part of a gentle symphony. His own breath is a slow wave rising and falling, a reminder of life flowing steadily through stillness. Halfway along the path, Koji notices a young woman seated on a fallen log, her eyes closed in calm repose. Her face holds a serene quiet that draws him near. She opens her eyes when he approaches, their deep brown depths reflecting the lantern's glow. "Why do you carry the lantern?" she asks softly. "To find my way," Koji answers. "But the path is dark," she says, "and the light seems so small." Koji smiles with the warmth of understanding. "It is enough." She looks at him thoughtfully, as if weighing the truth of this simple statement. "Sometimes," Koji continues, "the smallest light holds the deepest truth." They sit together in silence, the forest cradling them in its tender embrace. As moments stretch, the woman's expression changes, softening, opening. When she rises to continue, Koji notices a new light in her eyes, a quiet glow that seems to come not from the lantern, but from within. Together they walk the last stretch toward the mountain's peak, where the sky widens like a great ocean overhead. Stars spill across the night in endless constellations, their silver shimmer washing over rocks and trees, bathing the world in ancient light. Koji places the lantern down and stands quietly, feeling the vast stillness settle deep inside him. In this great silence, he understands, the path was never truly dark. The light was never truly small. The path waits for the traveller's steps. The light waits in the traveller's heart. The lantern's glow becomes a question, flickering gently in the night. When the world fades to shadow, where does your light come from? When all else is silent, what guides your way? The mountain holds no answers, only space. Space to rest, to wonder, to simply be. And in this space, the traveller finds a calm deeper than words, a knowing quieter than thought. So, when you feel lost in the dark, remember the mountain path. Remember the gentle glow that need not banish night, only reveal the next step. And listen for the light within you, always waiting to be seen. The bell beyond sound. In a forgotten valley nestled between folded hills and whispering ridges, where clouds often touched the earth and stayed for tea, there stood a humble temple. No grand gate, no golden spires, only a low roof cradled by moss, and wooden walls warmed by years of morning sun and gentle rain. This was the temple of silent pines, where the wind moved slow, as if it too had something to learn. At the heart of the temple courtyard, hanging beneath an arched beam of blackened cedar, was a bell. Not just any bell, this one was ancient, perhaps older than the trees around it. Its surface bore the faded etchings of lotus petals and nameless symbols, worn soft by 1,000 seasons of wind and hands. Each morning before the sun rose fully over the ridge, a young monk named Tenzin would step quietly across the dew-dark stones, his robes brushing the air like a whisper, and strike the bell once. Only once. The sound would rise, slowly at first, like breath gathering, and then bloom, golden and round, spreading into the still air like ripples through a bowl of water, left undisturbed overnight. And in that single note, the valley listened. Birds paused mid-song. Leaves stilled. Even the river, which ran not far from the temple's edge, seemed to hush its burble. The villagers in nearby hamlets often paused whatever they were doing, chopping wood, pouring tea, tying bundles of herbs, and turned their ears slightly, not quite knowing why. Tenzin too would listen. He would lower the wooden striker with reverence, return it to its resting place beside the bell, and remain there, motionless. His eyes would close, his chest would soften, and he would wait, not for the sound, but for what came after it. You see, many months ago, on his first winter in the temple, Master Gendo had told him, "The bell's sound is not what you hear, Tenzin. It is what remains after the hearing ends." At the time, the young monk had bowed deeply and whispered, "Yes, Master," as all students do when the lesson is too large to carry all at once. But he did not yet understand. And so each day he struck the bell, and each day he listened, not just with his ears, but with his body, with his breath, with his wondering. And yet, understanding did not come. Weeks became months. The trees turned their colors and let them go. The temple fox disappeared for a while and returned with thinner fur. Rain soaked the stone paths into mirrors, and the scent of wood smoke filled the halls. Still, the bell rang. Still Tenzin listened, and still the silence after felt just empty. Not full as Master Gendo had hinted, not wholly, until one morning. It was late spring. A fog lay heavy in the valley, so thick that the temple's outer garden vanished into pale nothingness. The stones beneath Tenzin's feet were slick with mist, and his breath left no trace in the chilled air. He bowed to the bell, raised the striker, and let it fall, gently, with the weight of surrender. But the sound did not rise as before. It seemed to vanish before it fully formed, swallowed by the fog, absorbed by the quiet. No echo, no lingering hum, just absence. Tenzin stood longer than usual, confusion softening into stillness. A different kind of listening began to grow in him, one that had nothing to do with ears. And then something in him moved, not a thought, not an idea, just a quiet tug behind the heart. He turned and walked, past the moss garden, past the stone lantern smudged with lichen, down a path he rarely took, the one that curved behind the temple into a part of the forest where the light changed direction and time seemed to thin. He walked without aim, no sandals, no staff, just silence at his back, and that same quiet question curled gently in his chest. Hours may have passed, or none at all. Eventually the path dissolved into a grove of slender birch trees, and there, half hidden among ferns and moss, was a pond, small, oval, still as breath held in wonder. No frogs, no wind, no falling leaves, just the water holding the sky like a memory. Tenzan sat on a smooth rock beside it, and for the first time in many moons he did not try to understand. He simply was. Birdsong returned in the far distance. A drop of water fell from a leaf overhead and disappeared into the pond without a sound. And in that moment, somewhere between presence and forgetting, he felt it, the bell, still ringing, not in the air, not in his ears, but in the spaciousness inside him. It had never stopped. It had only become quieter than sound, wide as sky, deep as sleep. The silence that remained was not empty. It was listening, and Tenzin, he was not listening to it. He was part of it. He breathed out slowly, the exhale longer than the inhale, and felt something loosen inside. Some old knot of striving or searching, untied by stillness itself. When he returned to the temple, Master Gendo was sweeping the courtyard with a straw broom, his movements slow and even. He did not look up, but after a moment he spoke. "You heard it?" And Tenzan nodded, though no words rose. From that day on he struck the bell the same way. Once, gently, but his listening had changed. He no longer waited for the sound to end. He waited for the silence to arrive, and within it he found not answers but presence, not knowledge but knowing. And so, if ever you find yourself in a quiet valley on a mist-wrapped morning, and you hear a bell that seems not to ring but to ripple through your bones, pause and listen, not just with your ears, but with the space between your thoughts. You may find yourself not hearing, but being heard. And you may wonder, gently, what have I been missing beneath all the noise?
And now, as the last light of day softly fades beyond the horizon, we return once more to the quiet question that has traveled gently with you through these stories. What might you hear if you simply listen? Not just with your ears, but with your whole being, to the stillness within and to the subtle whispers of the world around you. In this vast silence, wrapped in the soft embrace of night, there is a calm that waits patiently, a calm that asks nothing, yet offers everything: peace, rest, and the tender unfolding of dreams. The stories you have heard are like gentle ripples on a quiet pond, each one carrying a thread of that quiet mystery, weaving together a tapestry of stillness and insight. Let these threads weave themselves now into the fabric of your sleep, guiding you deeper, ever deeper, into a place where the mind can rest, the heart can soften, and the soul can drift freely on the currents of peace. Thank you for sharing this moment, this journey, this quiet space. If you feel called to return, to explore more whispers of wisdom and calm, I invite you to subscribe so that you may find your way back whenever you need. For now, allow your breath to slow, your muscles to release, and your mind to settle like gentle snowfall on a silent forest floor. Sleep well, dear traveler, cradled by the stillness that surrounds you, held safe by the quiet mystery that gently unfolds with every breath. Good night.